Welcome back, friends. We are once again back at Victor Escalante Live. This is the show where we talk all about marketing. Today, we have a very interesting topic, and I have Jose Monterrosa, my sidekick, who is joining us today. Jose, welcome to our show.
Hey, nice to be here again. Very interesting topic that we are going to be talking about today. Looking forward for this conversation.
Yes, I did extensive research about the topic, and so I'm prepared to talk about it as a subject matter expert in certain areas. And I'm sure you are too, because this is something that you and I live and breathe,
Right.
and have done it for the past 2 decades, since
Sure.
I've
And
since I've known you. So we have a lot of people that have liked and are joining us today. So if you have a question, by all means, put it in the chat, and Jose and I would be happy to answer that for you. So why don't we go ahead and dive in, Jose? So tell us,
perfect.
what is the premise behind HubSpot's flywheel model?
Yeah. So I'm going to give you my views, all right, around
Sure.
this. My the way that I understand it, this is more like a framework of uh, realizing or understanding how a business can grow from beginning to having a very sustainable or being in a very sustainable place as a business. Or you can also use this framework to build content on social media platforms. So those two applications can use this framework, and I think that the premise behind this has three main components, but at the center of all of it is providing a unique and outstanding customer experience. And why is that? Because given the landscape that we are in right now with social media platforms, you want to make sure that that customer is very happy and he's going to be referring business to you, or he's going to be sharing content related to your product or service through social media platforms. But for the to understand the flywheel, I think that there are three components that need to be clear to realize or to understand how it works. One of them is generating force, and I'm going to be talking big big words here.
Sure.
Uh, Adding force
For the
meaning,
sake of our listeners, Jose, why don't we go ahead and explain to them who is HubSpot and what is their primary service that they provide?
sure, HubSpot is pretty much the way that I see them is a CRM, a customer
Okay.
relationship management platform. They have been expanding to different areas, and they have been adding stuff to their services. But they were born that way. I mean, that's the way that I see them, right? And they have been around for quite some time. So, well-established firm. A lot of companies use them. Maybe Salesforce will be one of their main competitors. But look, they provide like a very complete solution to digital marketing, I would say, because you can add or you can have access to multiple marketing tools using the HubSpot platform.
I
Uh,
first learned about them when I needed to create the marketing content for a medium sized law firm that I was working with.
mhm,
Because, again, as a content creator, you run out of ideas, you run out
right.
of what to say and what to tell people. And so I did a search, and they came up on my radar. And obviously, they have several industry reports. So I
Right.
looked at their model, and I found it quite interesting. And when it comes to, as we get deeper into the discussion, when it comes into changing the mindset of a company, I found that I couldn't do that because the business philosophy did not match what HubSpot is proposing. So why don't
Yeah.
we go ahead and keep going
Sure.
with doing a deeper dive.
Sure.
So what are the key components of HubSpot's flywheel?
Yeah.
So go ahead and tell us.
the creators of this usually use this metaphor of a big giant wheel, metal wheel, right? That you're trying to make it spin. So
Have
you
you
use a lot of.
ever taken a transmission apart, Jose?
I
Because
am not.
that's what this is about. A flywheel attaches to an automatic transmission
Uh-huh.
because standard shift did not need a flywheel.
Okay.
Flywheels were invented for automatic transmissions because they generate a lot of torque. They generate
Right.
a lot of centrifugal force once you get it started. Or another example that we could use is the merry-go-round. Who hasn't played on a merry-go-round? And you first exert some force, and then
Right.
after a while, the merry-go-round produces centrifugal force to where it runs on its own, and it escalates the force simply through the sheer mechanics of what the product is. So go ahead and tell us about
Sure. I mean, you
the
you
converter.
basically just explained it right there. I mean, adding force in the beginning, right? Trying to make that wheel spin, and it's gonna take a lot of effort. So you have to see this as someone that is starting a business. Okay,
Yes,
there's a lot of effort in the beginning to make that wheel spin, and but you get to a point in which the wheel spins 360. So you
yes,
accomplish something. In the process of doing so, you have to minimize friction because friction
correct.
is what's not allowing that wheel to spin
Yeah,
properly until you get to the point in which the wheel is spinning by itself.
sure. So
So,
flywheels typically have bearings that again minimize friction. They have lots of lubricant to where once the force is going, those bearings are going to keep it going.
right.
Now, one of the things that became obvious to me, Jose, this morning, and this was like aha, light bulbs go on, the music goes on. Ah!
Okay.
A lot of businesses are still suffering from the funnel model. That's old
Right.
school.
Yeah.
Before the internet became so popular and before the internet dictated the way we do business.
Right.
And unless you really understand this, whether you use HubSpot or anything else, once you get it, you really get it, and then all of your strategies flow out of being able to execute the model. I didn't even get it when I saw the flywheel for the first time. So why don't you go ahead and take us into what are today's best practices for attracting, which is the first component of the flywheel.
Sure, but before that, you mentioned something about the funnel, right?
Yes,
The funnel puts the customer as
yes,
the destination, right?
correct.
The flywheel
It's the
puts the
journey
customer
to
at this,
convert a customer, someone
right,
from cold to hot that they're ready to buy. This
right,
is old school,
right.
real old school compared to today's market.
Yeah. So the flywheel is putting the customer at the center, and especially the customer experience, because they know that that's going to make them grow over time, and that's what is going to minimize. I mean, you're trying to provide such a high customer experience that you're minimizing friction, and you're allowing your business to achieve exponential growth in the process. And again, that is why I said in the beginning, this is almost like a mindset. It's a framework that you have to
Absolutely.
think of.
Totally.
Yeah, to understand it.
So if we compare the funnel versus the flywheel, the funnel is push marketing. It's like
Pretty much. Yeah.
you're pushing your message, your content, you're pushing. In newspaper advertising, we called it spraying and praying that you convert.
Yeah.
The
It's
spray
a very sales focused
and pray,
approach.
yes. And the flywheel is completely opposite because again, you're focusing on attracting, which is pull marketing, attracting interest in your product or your service that people are interested and curious to know what is it that you do and what you can do for them.
Yeah, and you have to understand also that it is more dynamic, right? The flywheel
Yes,
is more dynamic as opposed to the funnel. If you're putting the customer at the center of all this, you're understanding that things change constantly, and you have to adapt and continue to make sure that the friction is minimized in that customer experience. So
Explain
that
to us what friction is using this model, because again, you and I speak like natives, but some of our listeners may not understand what
right.
friction means in this particular application.
Well, let's use one simple example. So you are a car dealership and you are open from 8 to 5 p.m. And if you want to get in touch with an individual to talk about the car that you just bought, if you're past 5, that's it. You're done.
Good
Wait
luck.
until the
Yeah.
next day, right? But if you have some automated system in place through your website or whatever app you may be using, or you have some call center that are taking those phone calls after 5 or 6 p.m., then you are minimizing that friction that a customer may have. Uh, and this may be someone that is desperately trying to get in touch with the car
Yes.
dealership because there's an issue with the car, right?
Correct.
But guess what? It's 7 p.m. Good night. Wait until tomorrow.
Yes.
No, I mean you have to minimize that friction. You have to provide an answer to that
Now,
individual
talk
right
about
away.
today's consumer, Jose. What does today's consumer demand in order for you, in order to continue to do business with you, and in order to recommend you to their friends and family?
Quick answers. I will say. I mean, I have a problem right now.
Yeah,
I want to solve that problem immediately. And I guess we can blame the internet for all
totally,
this, right?
totally. This is
Yeah,
all internet driven. That's what I
yeah,
want you to get. If you don't get anything else, the internet forever changed the way we do business. And
right.
unless you play the game by the way the internet plays the game,
Yeah,
you're out of business, or you're not going to be able to scale to a whole nother level, because again, people are searching you online, and if there's friction where you have pissed off customers and they've given you bad reviews, good luck. They're going to
yeah.
go on to your next competitor.
Well, expectations have changed, right?
Yes,
Due to the
totally.
internet
On
and the
demand, we
easy.
become the business society that we want it when we want it, and we want it now. Jose, do you remember the early days of Twitter, how people would burn brands on Twitter? And again, this is about that dynamic response that you talked about, to where
Right.
they had teams of people monitoring, brands did, their social media, because they didn't want to be burned, and so they were responsive to inquiries or to criticisms to take care of the customer. That's where we're
Well,
at.
yeah, and when the whole idea of creating a website, I'm dating myself right here. But when the whole idea of creating a website came out, I think the concept was, hey, you have a store open 24,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah,
It's not like you're gonna close your brick and mortar at this mall and at 7 p.m. and
yeah.
then you're reopening the next day. No, you're
Right,
open 24/7, pretty much.
right.
So that mindset in the
I'll
customer,
give you an
uh,
example. I'll give
yeah,
you an example. I
uh,
do the marketing for a restaurant.
uh-huh.
The day before Thanksgiving, some lady was to order a turkey that we had advertised,
Okay,
and so I didn't know if there was a cutoff, and so the message came through, and I had to contact the owner of the business, and of course he responded quickly to the inquiry. That's what we're talking about. It's like on demand inquiry, and to go over and above the call of duty to
right,
create one of the third components that we're going to get into. But let's go ahead and keep going, Jose.
sure,
So, what are today's best practices for attracting, which is
okay.
which is the first element of the flywheel?
Right, and the flywheel has three elements, right? Attract, engage, and delight.
Yes,
And at the center of this wheel is growth, and
is
growth,
yes,
yeah, yeah,
and
and
the customer. The customer. This is a customer centric business that you grow as a result of incorporating all these elements.
Exactly. Yeah. So, so the attract is basically where you usually initiate, right? If we want to see it that way, that is the section that takes the most effort. But because, again, if we think about that metal wheel, that is when you're spending a lot of money on
Yes.
advertising. That is where you're basically building your brand. That is where you are acquiring uh, email databases or buying ads on social media, on TV, on radio, whatever platform most is the most convenient to your business. That is where most of the effort takes place. Obviously, you're building a brand uh, from the ground. Now, what I think needs to happen also at that point is understanding the landscape, right? Understanding who your competitors are and where are the gaps in the market, because that's where you're probably going to fit in, the best. So you want to focus on understanding the industry, who are the competitors in that industry, and where you can fit inside that market. And once you know that, then at that point you have to build that brand, you have to build that business, and attracting new customers, to me by far is probably the most complicated part, because you're learning
Yeah.
the process, and you're in that initial stage of growth.
And we get back to niche, finding
Right.
your niche,
Finding,
finding
yeah.
your niche, finding your lane, and being shameless in messaging to that niche, to that customer base, and at times even being putting off with clients that don't fit that niche to say, "I'm sorry, we're not a good fit."
Right.
I'm sure there's somebody out there that is a better fit for you, because
Correct.
again, you are creating that specialized group of customers that are going to be loyal to you. They're going to be steady, and eventually become evangelists of your brand.
Yeah, and that is a key component of this whole process too, right? Creating those evangelists
Yes.
of your service or your product. uh,
One of the things that a lot of marketers are afraid of, Jose, and I want to get your take on this,
uh-huh.
is upsetting people in the marketplace. And my instructors at Wizard Academy, they are totally for only messaging and being exclusive to your customer base, your niche, and disregarding everybody else. How do you feel about that? Even upsetting people that are not your customers through the messaging.
Well, for sure it generates engagement, right?
Yes, for sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, it really depends how you see it, because some people will say, look, even if they get angry, my brand is being mentioned out there, right? Many times is how you spin it, how you turn that angry customer into something positive for the company. But look, it's a risky approach. I understand it. I also realize that you will never have 100% happy customers. There's going to be a few that are pretty much upset, but maybe that's an opportunity to see how you can spin it, and it's a learning opportunity for you as
Yes.
well, right?
Yeah.
Because there is something wrong here that didn't work, and why is this individual upset with us because of this? Maybe we need to fix this. Maybe there is something there that is not working right. So again, it depends how you see it. Some people may see it as a big issue, others may see it as a big opportunity for them to improve their product or to keep their brand out there in the media.
In your experience, what is working the best for attracting on social media new inquiries, new people that are interested in a product or service?
Yeah, so this goes back to the what I mentioned about finding the gaps, and making sure that you are approaching that the best way, because you may have, what usually happens is that there's a very nice product out there, there's a very nice service out there, and everyone wants to do the same thing, right? And they are all, you automatically convert yourself into a follower. But others may say, okay, you know, it's this product is fantastic, but they must be doing something wrong.
Yes.
There's got to be a gap here in the market. Those that find those gaps in the market are the ones that I feel can generate that unique selling proposition and generate that unique content that can be shared on social media platforms.
You know what, my pitch, and I was highly successful at the Houston Chronicle because I looked at the reports almost daily because
Mhm,
you were a god at the Chronicle if you were generating new accounts, okay? Even if
mhm.
you were doing millions of dollars and you weren't bringing in new customers, that was nothing. It's like that was expected of you, okay?
Okay.
But whoever was king was the person that was bringing in new advertisers,
Mhm,
and you were a god if you brought in an advertiser that had left the Chronicle and you were able to re-engage with them and bring them back to the fold. You know what
mhm.
my pitch that worked flawlessly was is no one is going to take better care of you than me. Okay. Now,
Okay.
I meant it. I was very sincere. And so when I met with a customer, they were used to dealing with sales reps of other media that they were in it for the money. Show me the money. What's your budget?
Mhm.
What do you want to do? They were talking budget. I was talking strategy. Okay.
Okay.
And so
So
again,
yeah.
that's
You,
how I
you,
differentiated myself from everybody else by talking to them as business owner, almost like B2B, because I didn't have the mentality of a salesman. I had the mentality of a
so
consultative sales. And
so you were approaching that using the flywheel concept
absolutely,
without
totally,
probably even knowing it.
totally. I intuitively knew it
Uh-huh.
because I had read a lot of sales books and a lot of I had read and listened to a lot of motivational speakers who were giving bits of the flywheel. For example, you ever heard of the Bloomingdale effect?
Go ahead.
The
Explain.
Bloomingdale effect was how they were trained, the people in clothing, salespeople, customer service,
Uh-huh.
that they would go iron your suit, Jose. If you went to buy a Bloomingdale suit, they would iron it for you before they gave it to you, because
Hmm.
again they wanted to show how they went over and beyond the call of duty
Hmm.
to delight, which is one of the other three components. So let's keep going.
Yeah. Well, minimizing the friction. You know,
Exactly, exactly,
that's an action that is minimizing the friction. If we go back
exactly.
to the principles behind this framework, but engaging the customers, you just provided a very good example on how to engage those customers by referencing the Houston Chronicle, because
Yes,
at that point you were building that relationship with that customer, right?
exactly,
And building the relationship, which is the next step after attracting. You bring them in, you build a relationship. And some of these stages can happen on the fly.
yes,
This may not, given today's environment, this may happen in a single day. So
absolutely.
yes, I mean, building the relationship is the critical component on this stage that the flywheel identifies as engaging effectively with customers. That is when the wheel is basically spinning, and you're if you're minimizing the friction, that wheel will continue to spin and
Yes,
spin and
yes.
spin.
I'll tell
Uh,
you how I did it. I followed up with every advertising campaign to find out how the campaign was going. Okay.
mhm,
Because we could always tweak it. We could always alter something about the campaign to again to minimize the friction in the consumer.
mhm,
So I became a troubleshooter and a quality control for campaigns. And of course, my customers loved me because I had their best interest. I wanted a success just as much as they did, as opposed to simply taking their money and running.
Yeah, and the thing about what you just said also, and it's important on this stage, is maybe testing different things
Yes,
that can improve that engagement, right? So what
because
is
you
it
and I
about?
know that your best laid plans are not going to necessarily work 100% of the time.
Correct. I mean, if you think about this in with the mindset of, okay, how can I have customers right now, how can I minimize friction?
Yes,
Some companies may say, you know what, we need to do some research. We need to make sure that we're listening constantly to our customers, because okay, they go into the website, but we realize through data that some of them are dropping on the homepage. They don't go to the second page. Why is that happening? There's some friction happening right there. Why are we not engaging customers the right way?
and you
Uh,
know what? I began to see that transition. I lived through that transition to where our customers no longer trusted us to be the authority, and they
mhm,
were going online and finding all other kinds of voices and content that was more authoritative than what we were telling them. And
mm,
so again, we became drowned out in this massive herd of people bombarding them with information.
absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, again, just making sure that you are constantly listening to your customers and making sure that you're minimizing frictions that may be automatically generated either through social media or the people that are answering the phone, your website, all those touch points where your customer comes in contact with your brand, with your product, with your service. That's where you need to make sure that you are minimizing the friction.
You can have lots of customers come in through the front door and going out the back door because of the
Exactly.
friction. Okay.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
you don't look at the metrics, if you don't study the consumer behavior. So, how can you engage effectively in a digital world, Jose?
Well,
Give us the $10,000 answer.
yeah. So I mean, again, building the relationships, making sure that once you attracted those customers, and those are customers that are already within your domain, you want to make sure that you are keeping them happy, because again, what we said is minimizing the friction on the in the engage stage is pretty much what's going to lead you to the next stage, which is delighting the customer. And I'm seeing right here on the screen, how can you delight a fickle customer? That's a very good, it's a very good question. And it's a moment where you have to stop and think as a business, because do you want to delight a fickle customer or consumer? Do you want to bring the friction into yourself? Uh, I
Because
don't
let's
know.
face it, some customers can be predatory. Okay, they can
Yeah.
use they can use their displeasure or they manufacture dissatisfaction to try to
Mhm.
get you to drop your price, improve delivery times. I mean, it cuts both
It's,
ways. So
So,
how
so
do
I
you do
mean, do
it?
you do you do you want to spend resources and time on that, and maybe lose attention on the ones that are being loyal to you
Yeah,
and are coming back? That's a question that any business owner needs to ask, right? I myself right now, I will say, you know what? Okay, fickle customers, stay there.
yeah,
I know that you're going to be shopping around,
yeah,
but I have another bird right here that I
yeah.
need to take care of. Now, if I realize, if I see the as a potential customers in the future, potential loyal customers, then maybe I need to have a strategy for them, right? Send them coupons all the
Yes.
time. I know that they are very price sensitive, so I will send them coupons, and maybe this individual can fully convert after a year, 2 years.
Yeah, you're
But
talking about a drip campaign to where you're constantly providing incentives to keep
right,
them coming back, to
exactly, yeah,
stay on their radar, so
yeah,
that you still come to mind when it comes to making a decision.
yeah. I'm sure it's got to be expensive to maintain those individuals, but if you believe that you can, that you're, or if you're willing to make the effort to spend time and resources to convert them at some potential time, then that's what you do. But just keep in mind that you need to make sure that you're focusing on the loyal ones, because you have a relationship already built with them, and they're coming back. And so you don't want that wheel to start experiencing friction
Yes.
with the loyal customers,
Yeah.
because you're attending the fickle customer. So
I got
that,
I
that
got
that is just my thought.
I got to tell you a funny story.
Mhm.
I had two times.
Okay.
The publisher's admin contacted me to find out what the hell I was doing to bring in Jim Adler back to
Okay.
the Chronicle after he had left us. Okay.
Okay.
And to find out why I was able to get a $20,000 buy, one time a call with Miller Brewing Company.
Wow.
They wanted to know, what did you do?
And you did.
I used all the elements that we just talked about.
Okay. Well,
This is plain old psychology of understanding consumer behavior and making the customers the most important centric business operation that you can think of.
you have a psychology background, so this is
I do.
not
I
this is
do.
not new to you. I mean,
Exactly.
yeah. I mean,
But
I get it.
but I didn't really get it when I first looked at the model, Jose. So thanks for bringing this to my attention. And I'm
It's a
sure that,
framework.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure that a lot of our listeners and viewers are going to really get it once the light bulb goes on. I hope it does for you guys. And I invite you to contact me or Jose if you found this useful, because we want to bring you value. We want to attract you to produce editorial quality content that you can use instead of just blabbering.
Absolutely. All right.
Well, thanks for joining us, Jose. Until next time, we will have a great weekend, guys.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.